Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Tougas from Real Food Matters, and I'll just give you a little bit of info about me in case we haven't met. I'm a holistic health coach, and I work with clients to help them become happier and healthier by making changes in dietary choices and lifestyle habits. And I have discovered that there's always so much more to learn. We're such complex and unique creations, and we can know what foods are healthy for us to eat and what lifestyle supports us, sleep, exercise, stress, management, you know the drill. Yet it can be really hard work, and to reach those health goals that I know my clients have and that I have, I just am compelled to study and research and find tools that are going to help others and myself to live vibrant, inspired lives, which you're watching on this Facebook group or in some other setting that you will be watching this. And today I'm just so happy to have a special person who has been an inspiration to me join me here. Renee has inspired me in many ways, of course. She's my daughter. So that I've been very close to see her strengths and her gifts in organization and management and many things, but especially she's really been an inspiration to me in her ever diligent, ever learning mindset to keep learning. So welcome to you, Renee. This is Renee Tougas.
Hi, Mom. I have to call you Mom. I can't call you Karen.
I'm cool with that. So just to give you just a wee bit on Renee, I won't tell the over 40 years story. She's a wife, mother of 3, a homeschooler, brilliant writer and blogger.
Renee.tougas.net.
Oh, thank you. Okay, you got that. And so along with the things that I've mentioned, I would say Renee is overall a person who leads a purposeful life. And not the least of which is a seeker of beauty, which I love. And it's very evident also in her photography, which you can also see on her website. So just really happy that you're participating with me here, Renee, and that I didn't have to twist an arm even. And so that's even more special. And so what is your topic today? We've talked about it. Do you want to just say it as we kind of...
Well, we're going to be talking about meditation, or I'm going to be talking about meditation, my experiences with meditation, why I have sought that as a tool for better mental health and overall physical health.
So let's just get started. As I mentioned, Renee is a teacher, and actually I have to add with one of her 3 full-time students from grades 1 through graduation. 1 has graduated, so well done. But along with being a teacher, Renee has always been a student, and including and maybe especially in the area of your personal growth, I would say, right?
Yep.
So you would say meditation would be one of these areas that you have used as a personal growth tool?
Yes. And like with other things in personal growth, and I am really keen on that. It's something that I'm fascinated with. I'm fascinated with it personally. It is personal growth, but also in understanding and helping other people with that. Like when I look at my work with my children as a homeschooler, it's a lot about helping them understand who they are so that they can meet their goals and achieve the things that they want to do. And I think that personal growth and self-awareness really is part of that process of trying to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Meditation was this idea that's been floating out there in the self-help and self-care, women's self-care movement, if you want to call it that, for quite a few years. And I was always interested on, oh, that sounds like an interesting idea. Somebody's talking about that. But I didn't really start paying attention to meditation till about 5 years ago. And I about 5 years ago, I tried, meditating for the first time. I remember I was sitting in my living room, and I was able to look out on, I lived in the mountains at the time. I was looking out on this beautiful scene, and I was like, it was 3 minutes of pure torture. It felt like, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I'm doing this all wrong. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do this for my mind. It's going to help me. It's going to help me be a better person. I didn't know really what I was doing, but I was open to, trying something. That was my first experience with that. That was 5 years ago. And I would say, practiced meditation on and off, mostly off for the intervening time. But I picked it back up again, very intentionally, about 3 years ago, when I went through a personal and marital crisis, in which I just felt really disconnected from myself. I was trying to figure things out. It was just a difficult time in my life, and in that that experience of going through that crisis, my latent anxiety, this kind of ever-present thing beneath the surface that I haven't always been aware of, kind of came up to the surface really visibly. And I'm an anxious person to begin with, but I managed that pretty well in my 20s and 30s by really managing well. Like, I managed things well.
Because you are very good at management overall.
Yes, that's a strength of mine. And so I use that tool in a lot of my life situations to succeed at the things I'm trying to do. But sometimes you can't manage everything in your life, and a lot of things are out of your control. And I kind of got to a point in my life where I felt like that, and my anxiety really came to the surface at that point. And that's when I went back to thinking about meditation, how I wanted to try that, because it came up in the approaches that I was trying to use to deal with my anxiety, which was cognitive behavior therapy, and just really working on mindset and changing the way I was thinking about things. Meditation came up as a tool for addressing anxiety.
Yeah. So so you realized or looked at it as a tool. So then how would you explain meditation then?
Right.
What is this tool that you are using?
Right. So I guess I will answer that, but I'll go back and say, so I've been meditating like for about 3 years, and sometimes, some seasons I do better than others, or things get busy in my life. And I've revisited it again very recently, in the last month, which is kind of what spurred us to have this conversation together. It was just because I was telling you about things I was rediscovering and practices I was doing that were really helping me with I had another bout of anxiety, and I was like, I got to get back to this. I need to get back to something that is going to help me with this. So, how do I practice meditation? What do I do? Was that the question?
Yeah. So how to explain, like, what is your practice?
Right. Yeah. So that's a very good question, because meditation is like, there's different ways of doing it. It means different things, right? Because you hear that term, it could mean spiritual meditation. It could mean kind of like a Buddhist type of meditation, Christians, and we'll talk about meditating on the Bible. Like, so it carries a lot of different meanings. The way I have been practicing meditation is as a cognitive awareness tool, like a mindfulness practice to help me be present in the moment of my life. So what I mean by that is that one of the things that what anxiety does to me, or what happens when I am experiencing anxiety, is I will go to the past in my mind and be full of regret about things that I didn't do well, or if I am experiencing pain in something, I think, oh, it's because I should have made this choice, and I can ruminate a lot. Like I'm a thinker and I can just get up there in my brain. So I can go to the past, or I can go to the future, which I will see through a very scary lens. Like it's like going bad. It's like the worst case scenario. It's disaster thinking. You know, I feel wired to do both ends. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not useful. First of all, mostly it's not even true.
Yes.
But it's also not a useful mental practice. It's not a good use of our energy, of our mental capacities. It's not a good use of just like the precious little energy we have for living.
Yeah.
But it's really hard if you have patterns established in terms of like ruminating on the past, and just you can get in these patterns of mental activity that are hard to break, as well as like the going forward and thinking about the negative outcomes in the future. So I'm using meditation to help me break those patterns by focusing on the present moment and being in the moment.
So can I just ask, so when you are you sitting in a meditative environment when you are, so that, how does that feel, that to be in
right,
that?
exactly. I mean, this is a good thing, because that idea of like, what does it mean to be in the moment, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, I actually practice meditation. And I get what that means now. Like that's like a phrase you hear, people have a meditation practice. And it's because very literally you're practicing putting your mind in a certain space. So for me, that looks like a morning. I do it in the morning, a daily time that I set aside to literally practice meditating. So I sit on my bed usually, or in some other space, because we have a house in which I share an apartment with my family, but usually my room is the best place.
Yeah.
I sit there and I meditate. And for me, that looks like, it can depend on, there's different ways, and I'll try different things sometimes on different weeks just to experiment a little bit, but I'm focusing on my breathing for the most part. And I think about my body specifically, like pay attention to how my body feels right in that moment where I'm sitting, bringing my mind to the very present where I am, and focusing on my breathing. And what happens is that my mind, like many people who will attempt to meditate, it goes all over the place.
Yeah.
This is the reality. It's like you start and your mind is off on something, and I mean it just does that. And the practice is to come back to your breath. Breathing is one thing you can use. Other people might use an image, or they might have a kind of a focal point. This is in listening to different meditation teachers. They'll talk about having something you can focus on. Mm-hmm. The breathing or your breath, it's just an actual thing that's very easy to focus on.
Right.
Because you're doing it. But in addition, breathing well is very good for your health. Like there's all kinds of evidence of how breathing, because you're literally oxygenating your blood, and just breathing well is good for your health. Yeah. So when you focus on your breathing, or for me, when I focus on my breathing, it's to simply bring me to something happening right now. Like I'm here, I'm breathing. And I literally like think about the breathing in, and the breathing out. And I may sometimes, because I am a Christian, I will sometimes have a spiritual component to that. I will think about the light of Christ coming into my being and coming out of my being, and so that I will connect those two things. People don't have to. I mean, but for people who are spiritual, they will often, have a spiritual component.
Yeah.
And then what that does, so I do that just like during the morning, and I'm working up my time on that. But what that does is it gives me, my body and my mind, an experience that I can then go back to as I live my day, as I have stress, and I will encounter stressful situations, and I will then, my mind can be tempted to do the backward thing or the forward thing, or just respond in a very reactive place that's automatic and unconscious. It's like that is like the opposite of mindfulness. That in the actual meditation practice is training my body and my mind to be able to be in the moment, in the present moment, so that I'm not taking my mind in future negative places or past negative places, and I'm able to actually do the work required in that moment of whatever the situation is, because we live in the real world and you have to respond to things, and you need to bring your energy to solving things.
Yes. Yeah.
Not living in this what if, and in the it's like an energy idea also, that you can bring your energy to solving, or even not even solving. It might be a problem you have to solve, or it could be that you're having a conversation with somebody and you just want to be there.
Yeah.
You just want to be talking with this person, with your child or your spouse, yeah,
that's really good, because those are also times of just being, like you say, and not being distracted. Look, I'm looking at you, I'm listening to you, but I'm not thinking, well, what am I going to make for supper in half an hour? And that's as valuable in our relationship and our being there for other people and us. We can note on a whole lot of stuff because we are off.
Yeah, it's almost like, and you'd ask me, in the questions you sent me ahead of time, you'd ask me something about mindfulness, and that's like a hard term. It's kind of like a fuzzy thing to try to understand, but and my understanding of it kind of changes as I grow. But one way of thinking about it is that you are in that place that you're in right now, in that moment, mindful to the thing that you're doing, and your mind is not 10 steps ahead, or because it's almost like the opposite or the antithesis to the multitasking world that we live in, where you feel like you have to be doing all multiple things at one time. And for many of us, we do have to do, especially as mothers and stuff, when you're dealing, with small children, or if you work in a busy office environment, you have to move from task to task. But it's kind of like that scattered thinking and that scattered motion is, to me, the opposite of just a mindful, I'm doing this thing right now.
Yeah.
And
I can see how that links with being aware of our breath, because as we're breathing, our body's not trying to also be breathing for the next 5 minutes, because yes, you're going to need that to keep going. It is sort of happening as in the moment that we are synchronizing with basically what's happening in our body then.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it, Mom. Because we're not thinking about breathing.
No.
In the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes or an hour, I'm gonna have to breathe again. You just are. You have it right now.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really a tool. Mm-hmm. It's a developing a way to calm my mind in a very practical, in my body kind of way. Sometimes we attempt to calm our minds by like saying, oh, I can't think that. Oh, I shouldn't think that. We spend so much energy on the, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't think, don't think that, whatever. Instead of putting something on your mind, like taking your mind and putting on the thing that you can think about, like think about your breath.
Yeah.
Not like all the things that you shouldn't as they're popping up. Just think on the breath. Oh, it's not an overnight transition, or it's not an overnight fix. But the thing is, and I heard this from somebody else, because I've been listening to podcasts about meditation and listening to different people teach about meditation, and even in a spiritual practice of meditation, that you can't be bad at it. Meaning, like, if you think that, well, let's say you sit down to meditate for 5 minutes and you have all these thoughts and you're like, what? Like, why can't I not bring my mind to this moment and think about my breath? The fact that you have to always be bringing your mind back, and you come back and then it goes and then you bring it back, you're practicing the very thing that you need to be better at. Like, you're not bad because you're just not there naturally,
Yes.
It's not like you're not a bad meditator. Like, because you have a hard time bringing your mind back to the moment or your breath. That just means you get more and more experience doing it. Yeah. And the thing that I had kind of misconceptions about in the past, maybe about meditation, was it was about this separate thing, this separate space, this separate time, that somehow you'd have this Zen quality, or it was like this separate thing. It is a practice that you have to do in some kind of separate place, right? Some time where you practice by yourself and you're working on it. But its intention is that it's something that you bring into your life. Like, you bring into everything else. You bring into the mess and into the stress. And so it's not that you have to go off and it only happens over here. It's not like this thing that happens here. It's a thing that you practice so that you bring it into the everyday.
So would that be one tip for helping encourage others how to get started in that, is to not have this vision that it has to be this special, isolated, specific environment?
Yes. It doesn't have, here's the thing, your breath is always available to you.
Thank goodness.
And it's a gift.
Yeah.
And so it is learning how to meditate and practicing that. It is like a thing that you would probably, to get really good at it and to have it be something that can really impact your life, you should have a set aside time in which you are practicing that. Mm-hmm. But even if you can't do that a lot, and even if you don't have a lot of time to start with, and even if you started and you only have 3 minutes and you spend most of that time thinking about other things and you're always trying to come back to your breath, you know that your breath is available to you all the time. Like, it's always there in every moment of your day. Your breath is always available. So you can always come back. You can always practice in anything. It's interesting because there is like really something to be said about that cliche or whatever, just take a deep breath. Like, it really is something, and meditation isn't about like deep breathing, but it is about this awareness of that. I can do this right here, because it's something that various religions and life philosophies have identified, for thousands of years as a good practice. And now science is showing us why. Like, that's what now we can do neuroscience, and you can study the brain and you can see the actual changes that are happening in your brain. Yeah. And how that changes what's happening in your body. Like, it has an effect. Yes. And now this science shows us, and we have, it's another way of understanding of understanding it.
Yeah.
And you said a tip, like the other one, which I kind of alluded to, is that if you feel like you're bad at doing it, you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
You know? If you feel like, wow, I have to always keep coming back to my breath. Wow, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Lot of guided meditations and resources that are free that are available. I mean, you can just search free guided meditation or free guided 10-minute meditation for stress or something on YouTube, and you'll get all kinds of things. And there's not I tend to be, I'm the kind of person who thinks that there's probably a right way somewhere and I got to find that right way. And if I don't find that right way, I might be doing it wrong. But if you are just doing something that gets you breathing better, gets you like thinking about that, like that's a step in the right direction. It's helpful. Like you don't have to find the perfect app or something to start. There is an app called Headspace, and it is a subscription. You can get it free for a while, and then you can subscribe for maybe $10 a month. And that gives you guided, specific, you listen and it walks you through. And it walks you through incrementally in terms of time also, so that you slowly increase the time that you are meditating. Mm-hmm. And there are also, I can send you a link. There's UCLA, there has some links on different kinds of meditations.
Sure. And we can just put it right on when we post the video, when we can just add it right on there. That'd be great. And maybe if someone wants to post a question on the site, comments, that would be great too. How some people's experience is with meditation. I feel like my learning curve in meditation has really expanded, and I'm valuing it more. And it's amazing how you don't need a lot of time to really start realizing, wow, this is working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a tool that's very accessible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost anything. It's nothing. And it's not something outside myself that I have to look to some other expert for, or learn some new. I mean, there's a bit of skill, but you don't have to learn how to new way of cook or. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there was one key benefit, maybe that's not even a possible question to answer, but if someone said, well, why should I meditate? What would be something that would be really something to encourage people just to say?
Well, I would say if you have your life really all together, you don't struggle with stress, and you don't ever
lose it.
Lose it, or struggle with your thoughts, then you don't. You've already arrived. I have not arrived. I feel nowhere near. So for me, I'm the kind of person, like, if I'm not ready to do something, I'm not doing it, right? I'm not it has to be something that you feel is going to be beneficial and going to help you meet a need. And for me, that need is that my thoughts can be out of control and they can sabotage my physical health. They actually affect my physical health. Anxiety has a physical effect on me, and then of course your emotional and your mental well-being. And for me, that drives me to want to have tools to help. And I know that I need help in how to respond better to stress and how to take care of my mental well-being.
Yeah, it's been really good. Is there anything else you want to add?
Try, and if people are interested, it's not a thing that you perfect. It's and anyone who is a real master of this, even, they will tell you this is not something you perfect or you arrive at, or you're all just, everyone who does this is just on a journey of learning a skill, using it in their lives. So it's not a thing that you have to be perfect at doing. You're not going to be
An open opportunity for
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
And also for people who are like it doesn't, for some people there's a spiritual component, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very much about just breathing and helping your mind with very physical strategies. It doesn't it's actually like it's a cognitive practice.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love it. Really appreciate you coming in, Renee. This has just been so fun. I've been so excited that we could share this. So we'll post your website with the correct address,
Yeah.
and any other links that we would feel would be of benefit. And we will breathe and be in the moment.
Yeah. Sounds great. It was really nice to talk with you, Mom.
Oh, thanks. I so agree. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.